It is coffee time right now, isn't it?
It is coffee time, yeah. It's ripe in the morning of good old 12 at noon. So.
Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Time. Today, we are going to be ranking and sort of reviewing the Star Wars Visions episode, which you guys haven't seen, was a mini-series that dropped on Disney+. I don't know if you can call it a mini-series.
I guess it's not a series.
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's they're almost 9 short films that got released. They don't tie together at all. They're about 10 to 20 minutes each, and each one telling its own unique Star Wars story. Just really quickly, like we're still introducing it because I just remembered this. Disney actually had given the rights to Star Wars to a bunch of different animation studios in Japan and said, this is not canon, you don't have to follow anything we did in the movies, you guys just get to tell Star Wars stories. And this is the greatest thing Star Wars has done since the first movie came out. Because like, that's a great idea. For so long, they get so stuck with little continuity things. Like in the Clone Wars TV show, Anakin and Grievous can't meet. Because there's a throwaway line in episode 3 where Anakin says, Grievous, you're shorter than I expected. Like it's their first time seeing. So you have 9 seasons of Clone Wars and nothing in between, and they can't meet.
And you know they're not going to meet too.
And you know they're not going to meet. There's so many times they're about to meet and everything, but Visions didn't have to worry about any of that. They really just got to sit down and tell their own stories.
Which I really respect out of Disney, because I think what made a lot of these episodes successful, that were successful, and even the ones that I didn't like as much, I think they were all good at telling their own story the animators wanted to tell without these like chains of, oh, we have to do this, we have to do that.
Right.
It felt more freeing, it felt more fresh than a lot of other like adaptations made in the past. And altogether, that's what made a lot of these episodes successful. But yeah, I mean, any other preface you have going into these?
I guess just do a quick little expectations, what we thought going in. You know, being a huge Star Wars fan myself, I was just excited. The second I heard Star Wars doing this, I knew this was going to be something absolutely special. I knew there was going to be about 1 or 2 that really stuck out to me, and I was right. And like you said, I don't think I dislike any of these. Like there are some I definitely like more than others, and we'll get to when we say my bottom one. Like, and I think we'll have very similar bottom ones. If not the same one. I have no idea what your rank is, but my expectations going in were I was just so excited. I remember like the day it was going to release and what time it was, and running back from class and watching them all with you. Like that was a blast.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think anything Star Wars, I agree. I may not be as much of a Star Wars nut as you are, but I do really love the universe.
Star Wars is the best. The best.
I love animated, any sort of televised or whatever animated of like, I love animation, so.
Yeah, you're a huge anime fan. I like anime, but you love anime.
And all these episodes had unique styles to them, which I love when series hand off these like IPs to different animators, because it's something that happens like sometimes, but not as often as I'd love to see it. So a big IP like Star Wars being handed off like this to these, even like these big name production companies for animation was just like, it was so exciting to see, and I knew there were going to be some ones that I wouldn't like as much as others, but I still just love the whole thing going through the whole series.
Yeah, I could watch all of these again. Like I could sit down and watch any one of them again and have a good time.
I got Disney Plus just to be able to watch these. So.
But without further ado, let's get into our rankings.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, we're gonna start here with number 9.
Number 9.
All right, do you want to do the countdown so we can say it?
As always. All right, number 9 and 3, 2, 1.
The twins.
Toby 1.
Toby. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess you can jump into Toby 1 if you want to.
Yeah, honestly, I think this one felt, so to preface kind of how I looked at these, watching them over and over again, because the first time going through was a different tier list than I made, like the 3rd or 4th time I watched through. But as a recent, something that I took a lot more importance to was how Star Wars-y these episodes felt, where they told their own story, they told their own like animation style and everything, but a good way to kind of look at it for me to see kind of where my enjoyment was standing was how well did it seem like it was fitting into the universe while also being able to do their own thing, which I think Toby 1, however we call it, I think did one of the worst jobs at it. I feel like I was watching a weird Disney movie more than I was a Star Wars movie, which I think is okay to have that sort of stylistic thing, but it never felt like I was watching like something out of a Star Wars universe and more just someone that was handed this IP and like they felt uninspired by the Star Wars IP. And because of that like push away from their sort of the universe they were handed, it felt less like Star Wars Visions and more like this story of this robot that is given life and then happens to be a Jedi and then miraculously beats the main character, the main antagonist, without ever using a lightsaber before in his life. And it felt like this sort of like I don't know. It felt less inspired than some of the other episodes tend to have. Even with the visuals, aside from the visuals as well, the storytelling just seemed like it was a little less motivated towards the Star Wars IP and more just towards a story that wasn't the best written to me.
I mean, that makes sense. I'm not going to disagree with any of that. When we get to where I put TOB1 on this list, I'll talk a little more about that. But the twins, to me, was my least favorite episode.
Yeah.
It was just a little bit too over the top. It's about these two twins. They're both, I think, bred to be Siths.
Yeah.
I forget either of their names. But then finally, one of them, the male one, is like, no, I'm going to be a good guy and do this. And then ensues this battle about him escaping and joining the rebellion.
Yeah.
Which is cool. Like, that's a cool plot, and I like the idea of these two like twin Siths that were bred to be evil and everything. It just was so over the top. They used kyber crystals in this very bizarre way that I don't think made any sense to me. Like, I get it; it doesn't have to be canon to Star Wars,
course, yeah.
but then when you take some of the Star Wars lore, that how this stuff works, and you add your spin on it, it can get a little bit funky. You know, one of them, and I completely get, and I know a lot of hardcore Star Wars fans I know did not like this, but a lot of the episodes have samurai sword lightsabers, which I thought was cool. That made sense to me, but I know a lot of Star Wars fans did not like that, and I know a lot of Star Wars fans also didn't like the way they used the kyber crystals in this. The voice acting I also think's a little off. I can't remember who's in it off the top of my head. I probably should have looked it up, but I don't know. To me, the best word I can use is just over the top. It's so much thrown at you, and the animation's great.
It is.
It looks really pretty, especially there's some great, really epic shots in it where they do some cool stuff with the sound design. But just overall, what's happening with the characters and how over the top it is, I mean, it feels like you're watching a play.
Right, yeah.
And it just doesn't play right.
A question though, I'm curious, did you ever watch it with the original dubbing or was it only English? Because I've watched it with both.
Oh, I've only ever watched the English still. I kind of forgotten to watch the original.
I was
It probably was a
perusing.
lot better.
So some of the episodes I think were better in English, some I think were better with the original dubbing, but it was just like something I perused through the settings and I was like, oh look, I forgot this was dubbed in like 20 different languages, so I watched the original one, but I can't remember which one I preferred with that one, but regardless of the point, yeah.
And then how they defeat the villain, again, they use that kyber crystal
Yeah.
thing, and it just didn't work for me. It's something I could watch, and I completely understand why some people liked. I think this was made by the studio who made...
I think it's Kill la Kill.
Yeah,
is the anime,
that is what I was about to say, which I was happy about. Which I'm not a big fan of that show either, so like I guess it lines up.
Yeah, they made a couple other animation companies, but you know, I'll go into it as well once we get to talk about it, you know?
Yeah. All right, I think that's all I had to say for the twins. You ready to go to number 8?
Absolutely, yeah. So number 8 in 3, 2, 1, Tatooine Rhapsody.
TOB1.
TOB1. Okay.
TOB1, this is where I put TOB1.
Well, since I just talked about TOB1, do you want to actually talk about TOB1 now?
Yeah, I can take it. I'm gonna keep my coffee in my hand.
Absolutely.
To me, there is a huge difference between the twins and TOB1. I think the twins is the one that if I actually did go through and watch them, I might skip over. But to me, TOB1, if I was a little kid, I would have loved this. This is one of the perfect just little kid Star Wars stories ever. I think this one was really aimed at kids. It was meant for that younger audience, and I think they did a really good job at that. Watching it as like a 20-year-old, you're right. Yeah, like he beats the bad guy without ever holding a lightsaber, and it's a little cheesy, and it doesn't really work. But like, if I was a kid, and Star Wars is really aimed at kids, this would have been something I watched a lot. So I have to be a little bit nicer to it, I feel like. And some of the people we watched it with, this was one of their favorites.
Oh, really?
Just because they had known, like, if I was a kid, I would have loved this, and they ranked it at like number 3. Yeah, Gomes did.
Oh, wow. That's not what I expected.
Yeah, he really liked it.
I think, especially just because I'm watching it now as an adult, and I don't think I ever had that like love for Star Wars when I was a kid. It was something that was introduced later in life.
Sense. Yeah.
This wasn't as much of a connection to me, but I can totally see that it did appeal very much towards a younger audience. I think watching it through, maybe looking at it in a new light, I might enjoy it more. But like I said, none of these episodes I think I really like hated with all my guts.
Yeah.
But I just felt like it wasn't tackling what I wanted to see in the visions. But there's a different audience for there.
I hate where you put Tatooine Rhapsody, and I hate where I put Tatooine Rhapsody, because you know I'm a fan of this episode.
I know you really like it, yeah.
I don't really like it. I'm a fan of this episode.
You're a fan of this
I
episode.
completely understand this episode, but you can talk about yours.
Yeah, no, okay, so this I think is a big step up from TOB1, similar to how TOB1's a big step up from the twins. I think this the way the story is told, I think does what TOB1 does for you without me having to have that like prior childhood experience, which I'm not saying TOB1 requires you to have watched Star Wars as a kid to enjoy it. You'll probably enjoy it regardless. But I think with Tatooine Rhapsody, it was able to tackle like, I think storytelling in a light that was more applicable towards every audience, where I was able to watch it, and I thought it was entertaining, and it told a unique story that it kind of felt like the Star Wars universe to an extent, enough that I liked
Just about
it.
the band.
Just about the band.
Just about the band, man.
And honestly, the characters were, for the most part, pretty charming. But I think the reason it's just so low is because I think we were just commenting about how when we watch things sometimes, we just are waiting for a time to care, which I thought this was written, it was written fine, it was animated fine, but at the end of the day, I was like, these characters are neat, but I still don't really have a reason to keep watching. But at the end of the day, it was still a big step up from TOB1. I thought the music was good for what the episode was, but not something I would listen to on my own time, but I think it's totally understandable.
I've only listened to is there a Japanese version of the song? I've only ever listened to the English
There
version.
is a Japanese, yeah.
It's probably a lot better just from the type of music it is.
I think it fits the episode a lot better.
Yeah.
But it's honestly really similar to how it was in English too. So it wasn't too jarring of a gap there. But I really liked Jabba the Hutt's kid, the drummer who gets kidnapped. Yeah, the character design I thought was really charming, which is what I liked about it. It was the whole thing was just charming to me, and I think beyond charming, there was less for me to enjoy out of it than there was the other episodes, which is why it's ranked lower. But it is a big step up from TOB1, where I thought TOB1 had less for me, but Tatooine Rhapsody had charm to it that I really liked.
It definitely did. It definitely did. And I'm very excited. You ready to go to number 7? Because I'm
Absolutely.
super excited. Let's talk about number 7.
I am too, because my number 7, I think I have mixed feelings about. But 3, 2, 1.
Tatooine
Lop and Ocho.
Rhapsody.
Oh, what? Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
that's
so
why
close.
it bummed me out where I put it on my list. And again, I think the Twins is here, TOB1 is here, and then Tatooine Rhapsody. These are all step ups from each other, and then when we get to a certain point, it's these can flip flop now.
Yeah.
They're up there now.
They're up there.
And it's the charm of this episode that makes me like it. But also, I think this episode kind of has the most guts. They get the Star Wars brand and get to do whatever they want with it, and they tell a story about a band.
About a band. Just being the band.
Just being the band, man. And I get it. I think it's a fun episode that I would never thought I would see in the Star Wars universe. And then I got it and I didn't hate it. It just was interesting. I do think the song is a little iffy, but I think it fits the genre they're going for.
Yeah.
It's just a bit of a cheesy early 2000s rock song when you get it with English subtitles. But I'm sure if you or just get it in English voice, but I'm sure if you listen to it Japanese, it sounds like a good anime opening almost.
Yeah, it sounds like an OG kind of anime opening towards it, which I think felt the aesthetic.
I feel like that fits a lot better, which I'm excited to hear it like that. But I liked the characters a lot too. Jabba the Hutt's son was great. The lead was really good. I liked the sort of Jedi who went into hiding and then became a musician. You know what I mean? After Order 66, what did the Jedi do? Oh, they all went into hiding and didn't do anything. No, one became a lead singer.
He became a band.
That's a cool concept to me and something I didn't think of. So I liked this episode just off the fact that I didn't think I'd ever see anything like this. It's not my favorite. It's not being the one I watch the most. But every time I do watch it, I have a smile on my face. It's fun.
Right. It's charming.
It's charming.
I felt very similar vibes to it. But my number 7 here, Lop and Ocho, I think was
You're
it's a mixed
gonna
bag.
hate me. I was just looking down at my list.
He's about to start talking about Lop and Ocho real soon, which is I think will be great because we'll be able to talk about it right after me. But Lop and Ocho, I don't know. I think I guess we both have it above Tatooine Rhapsody. Not to say yours is right after, but whatever. Okay. I think this episode had a lot of cool visual motifs and it took a lot of cool adaptations of Japanese culture and put it into a Star Wars universe. The animation I thought was really cool. The character design was pretty cool. I think the characters, some of the motives between the bunny was Lop, right, and then the human was Ocho.
No, I don't remember off the top of my head, but that does sound right.
Okay, well the two sisters, stepsisters,
the two
that are
sisters.
siblings. Their connection and their relationship and their motives sometimes felt a little blurry. Just some of the stuff that the one that turned to the dark side and started becoming evil. Just some of the motives felt a little iffy to me. But beyond that, I think the animation was good. The story I don't know, some of the characters, although visually they were cool, I think a lot of the writing I just didn't enjoy as much, which is why I put this lower. But honestly, the fights, the final fight scene, the design of the characters and the weapons they used, everything just felt really cool and a cool adaptation of the Japanese style into a Star Wars universe that
Anytime
I
a
thought was cool.
green lightsaber comes out, it gets 2 points for me.
2 points.
Yeah, yeah.
2
Anytime I
points for
see a
Gryffindor.
green lightsaber, I'm like, oh, hey, you got me.
Which, yeah, no, I mean, a lot of the design in these shows in these episodes are great, but I think this one particularly had some cool, like, kind of like you mentioned with Tatooine Rhapsody, had guts to make a bunny as the lead.
Yeah.
You know, and I thought it worked well, and her combat style was cool and like bouncy to watch, but the story I think was just where it fell short. But it had something for me, and that's why I enjoyed watching it, and I probably wouldn't skip it when I watch the series through again. So.
That checks out. That checks out. I'm excited to say my number 7.
Yeah.
Or number 6. I mean, we're on number 6.
We're number 1, 2, 3. Wait. Yeah. Okay. No, this is number 7. This is number 7 currently.
My number 7 is Tatooine Rhapsody.
Oh, we just talked about yours. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
All right, we're into number 6. Too many numbers, man. Too many numbers.
Good old coffee time.
Good old
all right,
coffee
all right,
time.
All right, you ready for number 6?
Number 6. Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1.
The Village
Twins.
Bride.
The Village Bride.
Remember I said you were gonna hate me because I have this below La Pinocho.
For good reason, and we'll get into it when I talk about it. But I want to hear what you say about the Village Bride here.
The Village Bride just isn't that interesting until the last 5 minutes.
What?
I'm sorry.
No.
It's got yeah. It's just nuts. Like, it's got really cool animation. The story of the world that they're telling between this couple, and you see their culture a little bit, and you see them get married, that's all interesting, but that doesn't really lead to anything.
I would even disagree with you there. That I would say that wasn't even interesting to me. But
Well,
you can,
like, just to me as a huge Star Wars fan, going
Yeah.
into any Star Wars world and seeing how that culture works, especially through the eyes of like an outlaw Jedi almost, that's cool. I'll watch that any day. But to me, just the story didn't lead anywhere. And then when you got this moment of the Village Bride coming up and saving the day, she starts saying these like heroic things that I don't think were set up at all. But then at the same time, I have this at number 6, a little bit higher than a couple of these. This episode's just cool. This episode's animation's just cool. The fight scene is really cool. Her yellow katana blade is awesome looking. She has such a great design.
Yeah.
Like, they got all of the art and the world and everything around it correct. They just didn't tie in the story well enough for me to really be like, this is awesome.
right. I love how much credit you're giving it, because I think you'll be surprised when I end up talking about The Village Bride, even though it's high up on my list.
Well, yeah, because when we finished it, like, that was your favorite one the first time we finished through Visions. You said Village Bride. And I was like, really?
And I know exactly why that happened and why rewatching it soured my taste towards it. So, but my number, whatever, 6 now we're on, was The Twins, which was your, what was that?
Oh, the Twins is...
Or was that your 9?
Yeah, the Twins is... Really?
Yeah, so...
Really? I didn't even realize that. You put La Pinocho before the Twins?
I did. I think The Twins, it just had, like you were talking about the elements of the story of these two siblings bred to be Sith, and then one breaks away. I thought was just cool, and I really, it's a guilty pleasure of mine to see, like, you know, a very edgy sort of like costume for villains and stuff like that. So just these very black and like gray mech suits with like these red lightsabers, I thought was just really cool to see. The animation was great with Kill la Kill as well, being the animation company. I'm forgetting the name of the company, but I thought visually it was great. There were some really cool scenes out in space. Again, we haven't really hit the part in my tier list where I think the writing gets like top notch.
Yeah, me neither.
But the visuals, the design, the sound design, the characters, I think are all still really good. The fight scenes were great. The thing about the characters in here, writing-wise, I think they were a lot less enjoyable, but I think the visuals were cool. Writing-wise, they just felt very linear and one-sided, which maybe in a short animated episode, not even a series.
Yeah.
They're not given as much leeway and time to go into it. But I still feel like there's something that could have been done there that wasn't done, where we could have seen a little more about their relationship and a little more into the individual characters and less of a one's a good guy, one's a bad guy sort of thing.
Definitely.
But the animation, the visuals, everything I thought was clean enough that I'd put them in number 6.
I agree with all that. Honestly, just like going back and hearing it, there was a little bit of like the visuals that did look cool, but they did feel a little PowerPoint to me sometimes. Like Marvel's What If was made on PowerPoint, and you can't convince me otherwise. But there's bits of this where I'm like, this looks like it was made on PowerPoint.
Yeah.
But like, it's still a cool animation style. It's not my favorite though.
So what I like about that, and it's a technique called doubling, where they take one frame and they basically just copy and paste it into 2 frames to then create a sense of like, this movement is slower than another movement because it's then lasting for more frames. Some of the frames lasted for too long. What I liked is I'm able to see the drawing for longer, but it did really feel choppy in a lot of the high impact moments, which takes you out. But I was kind of like, oh, look, a drawing. I'm gonna look at that for like a microsecond real quick, and then it goes on. But
Definitely. I'm not trying to discredit any of the animators. It's just not my favorite animation style, and I always think it's funny to say it was made on PowerPoint. It definitely was not, and there was a lot of time and effort being put into this. I just thought I would acknowledge that. Even like Marvel's What If, I know wasn't, but like still, that show just looks weird.
Yeah, when they're choppy, they are jarring, and I think they look gross too. But I try to find some light with there.
Ready number 5?
Absolutely, yeah. So number 5
okay,
in
yep.
3, 2, 1. The
Lop and Ocho.
Elder.
What'd you say?
The Elder.
Put the Elder at number 5?
I put the Elder at number 5. Yeah. Okay. So this right here is like the middle. This is where I think this has the most. I guess I'll just start talking about the Elder.
Yeah, just go for it. Just go for it. I'm so excited to hear what you say.
This number 5, I think, is the most like. It's gonna sound mean, but it's number 5. It's the most average, right? I don't think this did anything wrong. I don't think it did anything super ambitious with it either. I think there was a cool story to be told. I think there was a cool Star Wars action fight. It felt the most like I was watching something from the Star Wars universe without a distinct adaptation to it, besides the whole like Japanese culture being adapted into it. But I feel like there wasn't anything that was super ambitious with it, and for that, I don't think it fell short with anything it was trying to do. I just feel like there were episodes that went a little more ambitious with the storytelling, the visuals, or whatever, and they were able to hit it. And I think this just kind of had characters that fit in the Star Wars universe, but I didn't really care too much about. A setting that I thought was cool, but again, I didn't really feel like it was going for anything super crazy. And I think a fight that just felt like it fit the Star Wars universe, and it was cool to watch. Cool, super lightsaber-y action going on. It's what I want to see, but anything that was super ambitious to see with it. But this right here is where, like, I think the biggest gap is being made, where I'm starting to enjoy these a lot more, to where it puts Star Wars Visions at this very high list of animated things that I like to watch.
Definitely. Yeah. We'll get to the Elder when I get to the Elder. But that definitely was an episode I was really excited for. I think when I was just reading the descriptions when they all came out, that was one I was like, this could be my favorite.
Yeah.
But Lop and Ocho, I definitely agree with everything you said. And there's another episode that neither of us have talked about yet, which we'll get into, that I also feel like might just be tackling too much in their runtime. But I feel like Lop and Ocho does a good job at it. And it's one of the more emotional episodes, in my opinion. And especially that last beat you get of that, you see this hologram that you kind of see in the opening of the family meeting. And after you see the family torn apart, it just plays that hologram again and ends. And I'm a big fan of endings like that. These bittersweet endings that leave you on oh, that was kind of sad. It always reminds me of the end of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. It's just like that, like, it leaves you down. You're like, I'm kind of sad now. But to me, the characters and the family and everything that was going on all made sense. I thought it was interesting to see how some people in the family wanted to be part of the Imperials and some people didn't want to be part of the Imperials. Like, do we let the Empire come in and govern our planet? We'll have more resources, we might make more money, but we'll be under the Empire. And then the father's like, no, we'll fight and we'll be free. And I think seeing that conflict is something I've always wanted to see in Star Wars, especially in this time period.
Right.
Because the Empire isn't just like, they defeat the Republic, we own all planets now. That's not, like, they got to go through and they make deals and they make trades, and that's how it all works. And seeing it all play out like that, I thought was really interesting.
Yeah, that timeline thing I think is a really good point. And I think the father did a really good, that character did a great job of feeling like something in this part of family where he had these conflicted emotions of, I love my family, but at the same time, I don't want to be part of this Imperial force. Which I think was great for this family topic you're talking about.
And again, green lightsaber, always get points. It was a great action scene. I did like the way the main character Lop fought, and I thought it was a really cool fight. Overall, I just enjoyed this episode. I don't have any great positives, but I don't have any great negatives. Much like again, we're number 5. This is my average episode, and I had a good time with it.
I can't agree more. So.
Yep. All right, you ready to go to number 4?
Absolutely.
Just really quickly, I'm really bad at pronouncing this one, so I'm sure now you know which one it is.
I did not read it. I looked down at where your finger was put.
But like the one that's hard to pronounce. The last episode. I never know how to pronounce it.
Okay.
How do you say it?
Akakiri.
Akakari.
I think it's Akakiri.
Akakari.
Yeah.
All right, I might have just spoiled it, but you just don't want to count it down, so I'll say it again.
3, 2, 1. The Ninth
Akakari.
Jedi. Okay. I guess I'll go into it. The Ninth Jedi, I think, was the first episode that I watched that was like, it had this really, really cool storytelling to it, where the twist ending up being these Jedis being Siths, actually waiting for these lightsabers to come in from the magistrate or whatever his name was.
I'm so excited to talk about that episode when I get there. I love that episode.
The twist was great. The writing was great. This
Sorry to sound like me.
just a little bit rubbing off on me. I think this episode, even more than The Elder, maybe. I think this episode might have felt the most like a Star Wars universe with the editing and the visuals and stuff. I think the wipes were perfect.
Oh
and stuff
yeah,
like
this
that.
one did have some good wipes.
There
Yeah.
were a lot of shots of like just slow moving spaceships going in space before they go into the planet and everything. I think it was just it hit the universe in a way where I watched it and I thought I was watching George Lucas in the booth himself.
I just want to. I'm smiling right now because I just want to watch Star Wars so badly right now. Like even though everything you're talking about, you're gonna be so excited to watch some Star Wars.
And that's
right now.
what's great about it. Like you watch it and you're like,
Excuse me.
I love Star Wars. You know, you watch it and you love the universe. Because this is supposed to be in the universe, their own adaptation, but in the universe. I thought the fights were great. The characters, although they weren't going super in depth with the characters because there were so many like Jedi/Siths.
Big story.
Big story.
Yeah.
Ambitious story too that I thought was told really well. And I don't know. I think the whole thing, it hit everything I wanted from Star Wars with this unique universe and with this this aesthetic and style that it's hard to put my finger on it the first time around of why it feels like Star Wars. But watching it over and over again, it just kind of it fits the topic even more and more.
And the Mangrave, if that's his name, I'm pretty sure.
Margrave?
The Margrave is like something like that.
Margaret.
He's so cool for some reason, and like again, a great green lightsaber.
Great green lightsaber.
I'll never forget being a little kid and like watching Return of the Jedi for the first time, and like I thought lightsabers were blue and red. And then all of a sudden, a green one popped out. My whole world was shaking.
Brock?
I was like, "Oh my god, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life."
The robot, the Margrave's robot that he was hiding inside too, I thought was really cool design. And he was a little dude, little lackey.
Yeah. It was awesome. But going into
Akakiri.
Akakari, it doesn't pop into my. I read that and it just Akakari. I hope we're saying it right too.
I hope so too, because I could be off.
Yeah, we could be off. This is one of the coolest episodes, in my opinion. The reason it isn't higher is I wish it was 5 minutes longer.
Okay.
That is my one like little complaint with it. Is it feels a little bit too fast for what it's trying to tell, but the story it's trying to tell, and I'm so happy one of these episodes went into the story of this Jedi who's struggling to stay on the light side and keeps getting tempted by the dark side. It reminded me so much of Anakin Skywalker in the prequels, and I just feel like that's something Star Wars is kind of afraid to touch on because of the whole prequel situation.
Yeah.
But I love the fact that they really delve into this, and the character that they tell this around. I forget his name, but he's really interesting, and you really get into him. The animation with this one, the action scenes, and the way they're done. Like, I don't know anything about the animation of this episode. I'm just like, I don't mean to put you on the spot for it, but do you know about a little bit?
I don't know too much, no.
It's so fascinating looking,
is.
and I really want to look into how they did it because it really does look like 2D drawing. They might have not done any sort of computer animation for it, but I'm not positive.
Honestly, I was going to say the same thing. It felt like it was a lot of hand-drawn, like frame by frame animating, and a lot less of like this computer stuff. But
Yeah, like frame to frame, you'd start to see some like differences and some imperfections, which I love, and it just made this episode feel so unique.
Yeah.
And again, that end, and when you get to the ending with this Jedi who's struggling to stay on the light side, and what it all ends up being, and he has these memories that you're unsure if these are in the future, in the past, or if we're gonna see them happen. It's so cool. And this to me, much like La Pinocho was the average, now we're at the 4 of these episodes that like I could just go watch on loop.
Oh my god!
And this is one of the best episodes. And I've talked to some people who are big Star Wars fans, and they're not a big fan of this episode. This didn't get a lot of love.
I'll have a word with them.
Yeah.
I agree so much with. I could watch these top 4 that I have on loop as much as I want, and I would be okay. Maybe not one of them, which is my next one. Which, if you're ready to go to the next one.
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to go to the next one. Ready for number 3?
Yep. 3, 2, 1. The
Elder.
Village Bride.
You Jared's so high.
The village
You have
bride.
it so high up.
Village bride. So I loathe this episode. I hate it. I hate it with all my guts because the last 120 seconds are so good, and the first 17 minutes.
It's one of the longest episodes.
It feels like I'm going on a flight to Paris. Like it takes so long to get the one scene I just want, but that one scene is so good of watching her in that final fight. It's like 2 frames of her just dashing with her high heel and her yellow katana blade. But the beginning is like, you were talking highly of it and you had it low on the list. Maybe because I get so frustrated watching the first 18 minutes and wanting that like short little frame at the end. The beginning is just so boring. All the characters are so bland. But the design for that rogue Jedi is so cool. I guess she isn't the village bride because the village bride is the chick
I know.
with the horns.
We always refer to her as the village bride.
As the village
but,
bride.
It's just because like the way the episode is. But yeah, she isn't. She's just the rogue Jedi that's there. And,
Yeah.
her design.
Her design's so cool with the hood, the very simple like I don't want to call it a kimono, but like that sort of like the Japanese the wear she's wearing. The wear she's wearing. Her blade with like it has like a little gap before the hilt and then it hits another metal.
Yeah. It's so sweet looking.
Just being in character design and seeing that, I thought was just, it's so cool. And I spent like a week just drawing her because I thought her design was so cool.
I do remember us first watching it, and I think when that lightsaber came out, I think you were just like, oh my God.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was so amazed after being so bored for so long. I think there's very, very little to be had in the rest of the episode. Personally, I think there's like the action scenes. There's very little time where there's actually good tension going on, just because I thought there wasn't much to care about with a lot of the side characters. But that main character doing that dash attack, I thought was just. I can watch that on loop instead of watching like TOB1. You know, I want that. And talking about it, I don't know why I'm talking about it so poorly, but it was so slow and boring until that ending, and the ending is great.
Definitely, and it's like I think me and you agree. We really like fast, short action sequences.
Yeah.
The faster it ends, the better the action sequence, in our opinion.
Yeah.
Just because it just is like, oh my God, it's over.
Yeah.
And the Village Bride might have the best of that. Like this action sequence is.
What I love about how fast and short it was too was just the one attack is that that's very analogous to I'm gonna put my coffee cup down for a second, but
Get in the hands of the storyteller here.
The stance she takes and what she does is it's actually a combat style used by a lot of samurai where they go for a one-hit kill, and if they don't hit that kill, I think there's like something about it being dishonorable, or if they're just kind of like they don't really have much else beyond that, but. She takes the stance, dashes, takes the one-hit kill. It works out, and it's analogous towards the actual fighting style with this dope character in a dope Star Wars universe. Maybe not as much of the world that I liked, but I don't know. I thought it fits so well. I thought, but
Definitely. Yeah, you're making me like it more and more. Oh, that's right. I haven't talked about the Elder yet. I was about to go to number 2. I was like, oh wait, I don't think I said anything about the Elder yet. Yeah, that was my number 3. The Elder was the one I watched and got the most excited for. When I read this description about a master and a Padawan sense like a Sith on a planet and go track them down.
oh yeah.
That's the greatest thing I've ever heard. You're kidding me. I just get to watch like a 15-minute short film about that's animated. I couldn't believe it. And I was so excited, and I do absolutely love this episode. The reason it isn't number 2 or number 1 is I think the Padawan's a little annoying sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they overplayed his like being young and not knowing and naive. They just overplayed it a tiny bit too much. I do like him, and I really like the Master, and I think the Elder, the bad guy that's there, is awesome.
Yeah.
But just the Padawan's a little annoying. The fight that ensues and how it's all done, and just the fact that we get a Star Wars story about a Padawan and a Jedi Master going and like sensing this disturbance in the Force and tracking it down is so awesome to me. Like taking place in this Republic era when the Council was still alive and Yoda was still in charge. I'm sure the Clone Wars could potentially be going on during this episode, and these are just Jedi who get sent out to go find stuff. That's awesome because usually Star Wars stories revolve around like the big thing that's happening.
Right.
Like most of the Star Wars timeline, it's kind of funny, revolves around Order 66.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to get some stuff outside of Order 66 that it doesn't involve all of the Jedi dying and the Empire taking over and all of this stuff. Also, that isn't just the Disney sequel movies. But to go back and tell just this contained story. I loved. And I almost loved that idea more than I loved the episode, but I'm still good with that because like just the fact I got to see it is awesome.
That's a great point. Yeah, I didn't even think about how like it was this isolated event, or like a small part of this bigger story being told, and I think the fact that this felt like one of the most like Star Warsy plots that were in this miniseries that was given, and that might have pertained to a decent amount of my enjoyment to it. But I don't know. I look at it in a great light, even though it is like the middle and I called it average. This is like the episode that I think it tackles a lot of things very well compared to a lot of the other episodes. So.
And a great green lightsaber.
Great green lightsaber. A great green lightsaber to you as well.
I'm kind of saying. That shouldn't have made me laugh as much as that's what I was expecting you to say. All right, you ready to move on to number 2?
Absolutely.
All right, count it down.
3, 2, 1.
The Ninth
Duel.
Jedi.
Okay. This and number 1
Wait, what's
are
your
like,
number 1?
You can't
Oh,
pronounce
I
it.
know what your number 1 is. Okay, that checks out.
This and my number 1 are so difficult for me to like choose between, but I think I've grounded it to this distinction.
I'll let you go first here, just because like I'm gonna be very silent about the duel because I want to wait till I talk about it because it's obviously not my number 1.
You know, I'll make it pretty brief here for you because I want to hear what you say about the duel. But the duel, I think, over Kakiri had like beyond like this is like through the roof. The storyboarding, the animation, the visuals, the choreography.
It's gonna be hard not to say anything.
Everything about this episode, I think, is like on par with some of the best animation I've seen in my life. And so this animation style, the company that made it is the same. It's gonna be very obscure. They make the ending / some of the openings for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Not
Really? I didn't
not
know
the
that.
actual show, but the endings and the opening, like the sequences.
Oh.
Which the way they do it, they go in this 3D / 2D art program where the backgrounds a lot of the times are 2D, but the characters are these 3D models with 2D painted textures to give this weird like stop motion boxy effect that looks really good. And when you first watch it, I think one of our friends Noah mentioned that it looked kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I was all about it. I love it. I watched a lot of animators that use similar styles on YouTube, and they did so good. Oh my! I can't get over this. There's so many scenes in here that have great like storyboarding and framing with the final fight with the log going down and splitting the waterfall into this. And oh my God, the tension rising as they're nearing the waterfall. The teapots boiling back at the city, and the dude's trying to fix the droid. The people getting corralled into the town as well. Everything was just, it was hitting in this great way where there wasn't a single storyline I didn't want to watch because everything was visually interesting, and it was great storytelling in itself to match the visuals, which it did better not only than these episodes but a lot of shows that I watch in itself, which I thought was just this episode is so close to my favorite one. It's just that Akakiri tickled fancies that I'll talk about I think just hit a personal part of me.
Definitely.
But the duel I think is by far objectively, and I will say objectively, it is not an opinion, it is a fact. It's probably the best episode in Star Wars Visions. So, which is why it's the opener. Maybe they hit you off the bang. You know?
Yeah, they want to just get you right off the bat going
Absolutely,
strong. The Duel and the Ninth Jedi are the two I hear, which it's funny, those ended up being my two favorite as well, just because usually I find myself disagreeing, especially with Star Wars being a prequels fan. And I do love the originals and everything, but like I'll watch 1, 2, and 3 any day.
Yeah.
But the Ninth Jedi is the most ambitious one to me. It's trying to tell the biggest story. And I think the reason I put it so high is because I love all of the things they decided to add to Star Wars. Yeah. Like the character gets this lightsaber that's not a color yet, but as she trains and becomes more of a Jedi, it's gonna form the color of who she's gonna turn out to be. That's awesome. Great. That is so cool. I want that in a movie right now. I want to see a character who like we watch and you kind of get to see like they're gonna go to the dark side, or they're gonna go to the light side, like what color are they? Like each color is so specific on what type of Jedi you are, and it would be cool just to see that character grow. God, and like when I saw that idea, I loved this episode. And then the whole twist that happens in the third act with who everyone turns out to be, And you think the good guys are the bad guys, the bad guys are the good guys, and it flips the rug right out from under you. It works so perfectly, and I think it sets up this really interesting universe. Like, I kind of wish this got announced as the show that went on after Disney.
That would have
Visions.
been great.
I think Vision Season 2 did get announced.
Ooh.
I don't know if it's all new stories. They may even like take and continue some, but this is one they should continue because they set up the story to keep going in really interesting places, although what you just watched is this really interesting story in itself.
Absolutely.
And you start with this great opening with like this rock and this kind of beam coming out of it, and it flips to kind of look like a lightsaber.
Oh,
and then
yeah.
you pan up and you get that same ending frame again. And all of that stuff, it just works really well. All the characters, I think, aren't the most dynamic, but you do care for them.
Yeah.
You care for all of them. You want to see them succeed. And especially when the twist happens and you figure out who your good guys are, you're like, oh, okay, this makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah.
I really like this story. I get some people I've just heard say it's a little bit too much to tell in this like time that they have. Like, they are covering a lot of ground very fast. This is the one that cuts to the most storylines. This is the one that definitely has the most characters. Like I said, it's the most ambitious, but I think they pulled it off.
I think so too. I think they bit off as much as they could chew, and it was a big bite.
Yeah, it was a big bite.
Which is why I give this so much props, because they were able to take this really ambitious story and all these characters and be able to put them without making these characters feel super flat.
Yeah.
Like even the Sith that ended up being good, the very hairy guy. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
Like even him, like
the wolf, he was even like, I'll go.
Yeah.
I don't want to die. And you're like, this is great. Like, you
Yeah.
usually don't see stuff like that in a Sith. Usually they're just like, oh, let's just go to the death here.
Especially with like these tertiary characters that they aren't even side characters, they're side characters.
Yeah.
But they still have these dynamic personalities. They have unique characters. It's just that they don't show it because they don't have to. You know,
Well,
they can.
It's funny. I misremembered it a little bit, and I'm happy I've corrected myself because I really liked how it happened. That character actually, the second they defeat all the other Sith, he's like, I'm sorry, and you see his lightsaber turn purple.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm sorry, I was just clouded by their
Yeah.
evil, and it's like. They get Star Wars, and the fact that the lightsaber goes from red to purple
Yeah.
is perfect to how that lines up. You look at Mace Windu, who's someone with a purple lightsaber. They're much more aggressive. They don't trust in the Force as much. They're combat heavy, and they're willing to go on the offensive to get you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love that attention to detail in Star Wars. I just love.
I love your Star Wars lore chunks. Great little segments.
All right, you ready for number one?
Absolutely.
All right, 3, 2, 1. The
a
duel.
cockity. Wait, I cannot blame you at all. You go talk about the duel because I know you're waiting for it.
Yeah, I've been waiting to talk about the duel. The duel, just there's so much to talk about. I just flustered myself. Writing alone, every scene that happens, like something new gets introduced that you get into. Every character that gets introduced, you get into. Like at first you start and you get, it looks just like a normal black and white planet, and as it pans down, you sort of start to see the film graininess come in. And I was so happy to see one of the animation studios really delve into this and this sort of old traditional style of I guess not doing animation, but it just made it feel like an old-time movie. Like it made it feel like a 1940s Akira Kurosawa samurai movie, which is what Star Wars is based off of. Seven Samurai and Yojimbo and other movies like that George grew up with. They were very influential, and so were samurai to Jedi. They're very similar. So seeing an animation style really embrace that and embrace that Japanese tradition, it was. It already made it my favorite after that first frame. But then you get introduced to the character, and when you see like the stormtroopers come in, like they're sitting there playing a card game, and then it goes off, and I'm like, this is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Like just that little world building of seeing the stormtroopers all playing a card game on the boat, and then they're like, all right, time to go, and then they all get off. Was great. The Sith that does show up, she's really cool. She has this great kind of umbrella lightsaber thing that she sticks in, and it comes out like 8 different times that can spin around. There's this really awesome mercenary group that's protecting the town that you get introduced to before you meet the hero you're following. And like they're going along and defeating they're just defeating all the stormtroopers, and then all of a sudden the red lightsaber comes out, and one of them's like, oh God, she's a Sith, run! And I've never gotten to see that sort of awesomeness in Star Wars. Like you have this mercenary group defending this town, and all of a sudden a Sith shows up, and you really get this sense of like they fear Sith.
Yeah.
Like when a bunch of stormtroopers come, it's not that big a deal. Like, we can take them. But when a Sith shows up with them, we're done.
Yeah.
And you get that fear, and then you get our character's introduction, and you get that great twist where he's not really a hero, but he is this hero. And the way the action does, like, the environment plays so much into the action, it all feels like it's following the same story. And how he defeats her is so cool.
Oh my
and then you
God.
get this great world building sense where he smashes her lightsaber, takes her kyber crystal and puts it in, and you see 7 other Sith kyber crystals.
Yeah.
And you just, this character barely says a word, but that one little image, you know exactly who this is, why he's doing what he's doing, and where he's going.
Yeah.
To me, this is the most well-rounded short film Star Wars story that they had made. This is one of the best Star Wars titles, if not one of the best Star Wars title I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like, it compares with The Empire Strikes Back and A New Hope, and in my opinion, the new Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game as being like the best Star Wars titles. This is right up there.
I think this, what this has over, like I keep saying, like over Star Wars Visions, other episodes, and over other animated series, this could be a silent film, and I would get as much enjoyment as it did.
It could be. And not only is it not a silent film, they took Duel of the Fates, the greatest Star Wars song, gave it their own spin, and then just played it throughout.
Yeah.
They did what I've been dying for all Star Wars to do. You already have the prequel music. It's so good. Just use it.
Just use it.
Just use it. It's so good. This episode.
It's so good, and I totally forgot to even bring up the Sith, who is so fantastic. And I forget what the exact line was, but when she's like, "Oh, a Jedi," and then he pulls out the red lightsaber, and the sound design was so good.
Yeah, he pulls out the red lightsaber, and she's like, "Wait, you're a Sith too?" And he's just like, "No, I'm neither." And you're like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen."
And the fact that he gives the kyber crystal to the town leader, who's like the little child, just shows a lot more about his character too. And the town elder is just passed out in his bed. The actual mayor. He's
Yeah,
just
the actual
sleeping.
mayor is sick. Like, you can see this town is on its last leg, and I do love the scene where the kid stands up and he's like, "I'm the leader."
Yeah.
It just, again, it adds to the world building of this town and who they all are and the mercenaries. You want to go watch the duel after this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hear about.
Oh, Kakuri, yeah.
Kakuri.
Which, quick about the duel. The droid, the old droid that also had the ships and everything that were like drinking the little oil and stuff too. I thought were such cool little tidbits to the world building. I can geek over this episode.
Yeah, this
so
whole episode, every single frame of this episode is a 10 out of 10.
It's a 10
There
out
isn't
of
a single moment that I'm bored. It's all so interesting.
Too good. But Akakiri, which is my personal favorite, which I think the duel I will hold over in terms of animation and all that sort of stuff. But Akakiri, I think, did something very unique as opposed to the other episodes, which is where it had a music style that appealed to the visuals and the storytelling as well, where the instrument they played a lot was, I believe it was a tabla, which is an Eastern, an Eastern instrument. It's a drum. Where they have these...
I love you, Jay. That was my favorite thing I've ever seen.
They have these...
Please don't cut that out, wherever the cameras don't cut that out.
I don't know my northeast, southwests yet. I have to do the thing. Never eat soggy waffles. It helps.
No, I do that all the time.
All the time. It's such a good little thing.
It really is. Okay, keep going.
But yeah, Akakiri, the music, they use these drums that have very high-pitched and low-pitched sounds that I think they do a great job of making a tempo for the story beats and everything, because they are very high-pitched, high energy drums that are playing throughout. I think the animation style appealed to that as well, and they had this weird mishmash of this. It felt like the kind of focus that, like, I don't know, Scorsese would give to his movies or something like that. But like you said, the animation style, it felt very hand-drawn. It felt very like, it didn't feel clean and crisp. It felt like rugged and it felt, I don't know, primal. It felt hand-drawn, you know?
Yeah.
And I love hand-drawn stuff.
You almost got to see some of those imperfections.
Yeah.
Which I feel like for the story they were telling fits perfectly.
So good.
Yeah.
And the fact that they weren't afraid to kind of show that it's just this non-clean, very like rugged animation style. It's like, it's also an ambitious style to take, because it could show up and look like a flip book, which might not look good to people, but I thought it looked great.
Yep.
The fight scenes, like we mentioned, they're short and they're quick. You know, it's a lightsaber; it kills people in one hit. You know, the bird's eye view lightsaber fight where the lightsaber's kind of blurry. It looks sick. You know,
Any action scene where you just hold on one view and you just get to watch the action play out is the best action scene ever.
I'm not looking around the fight like
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I'm looking at the fight like a human.
You're not like cutting fist to fist and you're like, who's punching?
What's going on here? The Hunger Games? What's up? The story I thought was, like you said, it's really like, it's like a parallel to Anakin and everything, and the character, he was so unique and dynamic. It was hard not to care about him, even the side characters, like the two old dudes that were accompanying him and his lover on their trip, and they were singing the song, and the one guy gets lost, and I started crying, and I'm like, no, his friend, But he finds him. I thought it was just there was constant like tension because of the love of the universe and the characters, a very unique story, and that ending fight of like seeing the actual struggle with him being animated in this like hand-drawn, rugged way was so good. He had this like 5 o'clock shadow kind of beard going on.
It was very effective.
So they tackled what they wanted to do, which was an ambitious style of music and art, and they put it together, which I don't think a single other one of these did. They usually stuck, the Duel had Duel of the Fates, which was it was a perfect choice to put.
It was perfect.
And I think Akakari, what they stood out with their music is they took this style that didn't feel like Star Wars, but fit Star Wars. It fit the universe they made. And this episode, you could take away all the Star Wars components, and it would still work really well as its standalone little episode. But the fact that they were able to still make it work in a Star Wars universe, I give them a lot of credit for.
Definitely.
The ending fight as well, like I said, quick, short. The struggle between it and
the struggle between good and bad, seeing what this Jedi is gonna do, and you're making me realize how much I like this episode too. How they decide to animate that struggle.
Oh, yeah.
And how they decide to like tease it at the beginning and then show how it's gonna go out, how it happens at the end. It's perfect.
The flashbacks and everything where you're wondering what's going on.
Yeah, is this the future? Is this the past?
Yeah.
They don't tell you. But then when you start to put it together, what it is, you're like, oh.
Which is crazy because it puts you in the shoes of the main character. He doesn't know what he's looking at either. He's asking people like, I keep seeing this dream. I don't know what it is. And then being able to have this decision that he has to choose, does he want his loved one to live, but he joins the dark side, or does he choose to keep his morals and stay good?
I'm so happy this story got told. I'm so happy this story got told because I feel like a lot of people hated the fact that it's the ongoing joke. George, between episodes 6 and 1, just spent years deciding what the Jedi couldn't do. The Jedi can't love. The Jedi can't do this. The Jedi can't do this. The Jedi can't do this. But I thought it was really interesting that he did that. And I think the story between someone who has all of this power but can't save the woman he loves is interesting. It's very Shakespearean because, I mean, it's like kind of every Shakespearean. But like
tragic death of a loved one.
But and the fact that they decided to go and tell this story, I think, feels very traditional to Star Wars.
Yeah, I agree.
So I love it.
Great one. My personal favorite. I think the duel was put together. I think more. I don't want to say appropriately. I don't know what the word is. I feel like
cohesively.
Cohesively.
Maybe I know what you're trying to say.
I think the duel hit fundamentals in a very creative way, and Akakari hit storytelling in a very creative way.
Yeah, and very personal to you and the things you love.
And the soundtrack, I think, is probably my favorite out of the entire series. And I don't know, my personal favorite. I think it's very close to the duel.
Definitely.
But yeah,
I think the biggest takeaway from all of this, and just is that Star Wars Visions has something for every single Star Wars fan.
Oh yeah.
And that's the best thing about it. Anyone who's ever enjoyed a Star Wars movie, you will watch one of these episodes and really enjoy yourself. There's something for everybody, even whether or not you loved Star Wars or not. I'd say Akakari was one of the episodes that felt very different from Star Wars. But you didn't grow up with Star Wars. You've kind of got your love of Star Wars through me and everything.
Yeah.
This was an episode you loved. Whereas me, who's a huge Star Wars traditionalist, loved the duel.
Yeah.
There's something for everybody in this series. Every episode feels very distinct and unique and tells its own story. This whole show is incredible. I would love to see them continue something like this. This is the best thing to me Star Wars has done since Revenge of the Sith in 2005.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's perfect.
I would love to see them, even if they don't continue a single story, as much as love to see like extensions of stuff. I would honestly even love to just see another 9 standalone episodes, because like you said, they appeal, like there's something for everyone. You won't like everything, but you'll probably love something out of it. And if you don't like the duel, you're kind of just wrong. So like, just don't even worry about it. But at the end of the day, it has something for everyone, and that something is the duel. So.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Coffee Time. Go watch Star Wars Visions. If you have Disney Plus, I highly recommend it. It's not even going to take, I think, an hour and a half to get through all 9 episodes.
Yes,
it's very short. So go check it out. Figure out which one's your favorite. Enjoy it, and hopefully season 2 is coming out soon.
Absolutely. Enjoy the show, and keep your coffee going.
Keep your coffee going.